my good friend from the NFL Network and part of our NFL draft coverage. Once again, good to see you, Charles Davis, in studio.
Great to see you as well, Rich. I probably went in the top 5 if it was a trivia contest. Maybe then I have a chance, but not as far as on the field.
Well, you will know. By the way, you will appreciate, since you always appreciate this stuff. Our first hour guests tomorrow, Mike Mayock and Carl Weathers.
Wow. And you know something? And you know
Philadelphia
something?
legends, both.
You know something? Mike should have fought Apollo on Christmas night.
Which one was that? Which Rocky was that? Was Christmas night? I haven't seen one in a long time.
Wasn't that Christmas night?
4 was Christmas night. He fought.
Oh yeah,
he fought Drago.
But he fought him in it was the holiday season though. It's right after the holidays.
Coming to America, right?
Right, because remember he had the turkey and Paulie took the turkey and threw it outside.
Right, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, it's
right after that.
Living in America.
Oh, I said
Coming to America.
James Brown.
Right. Living in America, being James Brown.
Off to a great start.
You know what? And I'll tell you, man. This is always and I can't wait to ask this of Carl Weathers. I'm going to ask him this because I always say, is Rocky a boxing movie or a love story?
Oh, I can't wait to get an answer for that one.
Rocky is a love story, people. I understand
for Rocky.
Well, no, it's a movie. Because it's a movie about a love story that happens to involve boxing. It is not a boxing movie that happens to involve a love story.
This isn't like that Die Hard, is it a Christmas movie?
It is exactly that. And Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. A Christmas Story is a Christmas movie.
Now, what we did learn later on is that Apollo's love story was way different than Rocky's.
I did not see.
Because Apollo had ostensibly the same wife, different people played her in the different Rocky movies.
I did not see. That's why I bring this up to you, Charles.
Concluding with Felicia Rashad in Creed, which is an extension, of course.
I didn't see Creed. I heard nothing but great things about Creed.
And she went and got Apollo's illegitimate son.
Yes.
Is that a spoiler alert?
It's not going to spoil the movie, but it's one that came out of nowhere.
They covered that in the first 15 minutes. It's
so you might want to ask Apollo if he actually knew before Drago made him take a knee.
Is that a red flag? Was that a red flag on Apollo?
You just want to know. Did you know before Drago? Was death from above, as Barry Tompkins said.
We got Carl Weathers on tomorrow's show. We're very excited about that, and we've got the whole extravaganza coming up just tomorrow.
I'm tuning in tomorrow, man. I can't believe Apollo's coming on the show. That is so cool.
More likely, the Browns move up, or the Browns don't take a quarterback tomorrow. Period. What's more likely?
I think more likely that they move up with the second pick. With 12.
Do you really though?
Only because of this, Rich. Only because I keep hearing that it is a full scale, incredible debate in their building about whether to take Garrett or a quarterback at 1. So if it's that much of a debate, maybe they have it and they take Garrett at 1 and come back up.
The thing I don't understand about this, Charles, is that from everybody that I hear and everything that I see. And I'm the biggest Deshaun Watson fan, I guess, this side of Lombardi, right? Lombo say that he's a first day guy. Not first day in terms of a draft. First day NFL, he's a starter. Boom. You can put him out there, and he doesn't need any seasoning. That said, you had Carson Wentz. You had him. Why are any of these guys really, in their minds, better prospects than Carson Wentz? For real? I know that you're not supposed to live in the past. You're supposed to only live in the present in a draft, but come on.
One wouldn't think so. And one person's opinion, and I've expressed it, so there's no sense in changing it. I had said that the Winston Mariota year, I liked those two better than I liked Goff Wentz. But I like Goff Wentz better than what I like in this year's draft.
Now, is that an annual thing, or when was the last time that you actually liked a quarterback class better than the year before? Was it Winston and Mariota, would you say?
Probably. Yeah, probably Winston and Mariota. I mean, I was really sold on those two in a big way because normally when you draft guys at the top, those guys are always linked, whether they go 1, 2, or whatever. They're always linked. Goff and Wentz always be linked. But usually get one that has a pretty decent career and one that does not. And I said right from the day one that I said these two are both going to go to be Pro Bowl, All-Pro quarterbacks. I think we're going to get both of them. And I still think that we're on track for that.
I know we normally have our poll question of the day, and that's what we ask our guests. We do have an NBA question if you want to hit that. We'll do that later on.
I'm in.
Okay, all right. That said, Brockman, tomorrow's show we already got something teed up. We don't have the I guess choices just yet. But go ahead and ask him because I want to ask because Garrett's one, and then go for it.
And so our poll question tomorrow is going to be who is the second pick in the NFL draft?
Who do you think it's going to be? Garrett goes one. Let's just say the debate dies down in Berea, and it comes out that it's going to be Garrett. So
I've been counterintuitive on this one, so I might as well go ahead and go out and saw off that limb. Mm-hmm. I've got a GM and a head coach who both have 6-year contracts.
Yep.
Who have a chance to actually take a gamble.
And that gamble is?
Mitchell Trubisky, North Carolina, number 2.
Wow.
Now, I know it works both ways. With a 6-year contract, you have a chance to build, too, so you don't need to make that move. But he's cheaper than going back and getting Kirk Cousins later. And you develop him
that's no question about that.
And you develop him from day one. He reminds me of Matt Ryan playing in that offense.
So there you have it.
In those last 2 years, you saw how he expanded Matt Ryan's game. Matt Ryan, that run he made against Green Bay in the playoffs where he ran for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you'd see Matt Ryan doing that?
Well, I mean, no, I didn't.
I mean, he expanded his game to do that. He couldn't do it in year one. It's kind of like changing your swing. Mm-hmm. They only got so far, and they couldn't get any farther. But Matt Ryan was a willing pupil to try things that he had never really done before, to run those stretch plays and then bootleg off of them and to get out in the sprint out passes and to expand his legs and use it that way. And he did it well in year 2, well enough to be the league MVP.
Well, I mean, it also helped to have Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, and the cupboard's completely bare.
Doesn't hurt one bit.
So they like Trubisky in his 13 career starts enough to just go ahead and say
it's not likely
the new and sit him behind Hoyer because Hoyer. It's not like they have nobody there
and Matt Barkley, and it's not likely. Mm-hmm. But I could see the scenario. You've got 2 guys who have contracts that are almost unprecedented in today's football. They have 6-year contracts joined at the hip. If there's a guy they like, you don't have to, you can take him there and continue to build. It goes against the grain. I think that Mike and DJ, I thought I heard them, and David Shaw were talking about that yesterday.
Yes.
Hey, go get your good player. Go get you a Solomon Thomas. Go get you Jonathan Allen.
That's why
go get you someone good. And I get that.
Yeah.
But I've been the contrarian here. I've been a little bit different in my old age.
Charles Davis joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show, and then number 3 is that Jamal Adams, the apple of the Bears' eye, or what do they do? Solomon Thomas could be their guy.
Solomon Thomas could be there. I think that 3 and 7 might actually be linked picks.
How so?
That whoever the domino is at 3 at safety, Jamal Adams. Mm-hmm. The other one the Chargers are at 7, right?
Yes.
They take the other guy. They take Malik Hooker. 2 safeties. I think they're almost linked there, like which domino falls first.
You don't think the Chargers get Deshaun Watson if the Jets pass on him? Let's just put it this way. Okay, let's say the Bears go they go Adams. Let's just say Adams, okay? Then everyone assumes that Jacksonville's going to take
Fournette.
Then you've got the Titans sitting there at 5. Who
are willing to deal.
Well, I mean, and if the Browns really want Deshaun Watson with Trubisky off the board and the Jets sitting there at 6, then
they got to come get him.
Then hello, Cleveland has to come get him.
They'd have to come get him.
Okay, and then what if somehow, some way, Watson isn't gotten by either the Browns, Titans, or Jets? The LA Chargers not going to sit. What do you think about that?
They could easily go there because you've got a plan for post Phillip, and he said the right things. He has not said, whatever you do, don't bring their quarterback in this room. He said the right things. I understand what you've got to do, but I plan to play a long time.
I'm going to give you before we take our first break with you.
Buffalo could be 10 for Deshaun.
I've heard about that too. I want to throw something really crazy out at you because nobody's saying this. And I said this last year. If you think you've got a game-changing running back in Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas, you need to go get him at 4. And guess what they did? All right, not like I've got a pipeline to the Jones family, but
you do realize we were mind melding.
We were mind melding. Okay, so
we talked about that a long time before it happened.
If you are the Jets and you are taking on the Patriots every single year, and Christian McCaffrey is sitting out there at 6, and he's the matchup nightmare, he's an offensive weapon that you can hand off to whoever the hell's the quarterback's going to be. Maybe it is Christian Hackenberg by the end of the day.
Might be.
And you need to help out Christian Hackenberg, who can't apparently tie his shoes.
Yep.
Why not go get him at 6?
It's a great conversation piece too, because there's a good school of thought that if Jacksonville bypasses Fournette at 4, that the Jets would jump on Fournette at 6.
So who would Jacksonville bypass Fournette at 4 for?
They could bypass him for Jonathan Allen, because they'd have no problem with stock loading with people like
Right.
that. They are also the super wild card quarterback team, which I don't
They
see.
aren't they?
Which I don't see happening, but we didn't see Blake Bortles coming at 3 either. But this is different because Tom Coughlin's there now.
Have you seen a draft like this?
No. I really, we
great.
always talk about how unpredictable it is. This one truly is. This one's fun. This one's a lot of fun because so many moves can happen at so many different positions. Usually we were able to identify here this can happen,
Right.
here this can happen. We actually have different break points. Yeah, we talk about Tennessee at 5.
Right.
We have a break point at 2 with San Francisco. I mean, it's not necessarily where we're just sitting right there going, oh, yeah, that's a lock there and that's a lock there. This is going to be a blast.
I want to take a break. When we come back, we asked O.J. Howard, John Ross, Josh Dobbs, who I want to talk with you
Joshua.
about. Because I want to start taking a look at quarterbacks who might be the Dak Prescott of this year, might be the Russell Wilson this year, the 3rd or 4th or 5th round gem that you don't have to go trade up into the first round to go get. I want to talk about that. We asked Ross, Dobbs, O.J. Howard, and a group of other, Mike Williams of Clemson, the same question. Njoku, what's the strangest question you've heard in the draft this year or the
I can't
combine?
wait to hear this.
And we've got that. That'll be the first thing you hear when you come back from break, but you got to stay tuned for that. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. Another great old gen stats here on the Rich Eisen Show. We're not about the next gen stats here, Charles.
Old gen?
We're about the old gen stats.
Now you're in my territory.
And then we'll ask you the NBA poll question. Get your 2 cents on that. As well as you here on this 3rd hour, 2nd day from Philly edition of the Rich Eisen Show. Charles Davis, now we're here back live in our studio in Philadelphia.
Oh, that kid. Well, he's special now.
He is. And
He's
I want
special. Dobbs.
I want to hitch up on that
He's
because,
special.
I asked this question of Daniel Jeremiah last week when he was in studio on our Friday show. Who is the 3rd, 4th, or maybe 5th round guy who's that hidden gem that can be a star in the league, maybe from Jump Street? And he said Nate Peterman, who was the guy that lost out to
Josh Dobbs
and transferred, right?
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I think that Josh Dobbs is going to get great consideration for being that guy. And there's so many different reasons why. But when you look at his tape, he has the elusiveness with the legs, can run the football, throw the football. Now, there's some concerns about accuracy and his deep ball, but I think that those are things that they feel like they can work out mechanically. And then, of course, the overall smarts that he has, he should be able to run any offense, any place, anytime, roll out there and get it done. What I had said to him way back when, and maybe I didn't say it exactly to him, but to people around him, just make sure that when you go to do this NFL stuff, they know that you love football. The 15 years down the road, excuse me, is when you're going to start creating airplanes and not before. Because I've been through this, and I've seen it with the NFL. If you have a lot of options, you get people look at you funny, Rich. Is he going to be?
Do you really love
football? Do you really love ball?
That's so ridiculous.
Right? So
that is honestly,
he's actually passed that test in a big way. Josh has done a great job with that, and he's going to get the Dak Prescott bounce.
But what about? This is, by the way, the Honda Insider Report, sponsored by the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event. Your chance to find a deal on cars like the Civic with its available turbocharged engine and the Fit, which is an available 7-inch display audio touch. But hurry in before it's all over. Charles Davis, our insider of the Insider Report. That drives me crazy.
Yeah,
because football, because if I'm running a football team, sure, do I want someone who loves sports or loves football? Of course. But I want a well-rounded human being.
Yeah.
I want somebody that understands that there's things to life other than football, all right? And I think that's just dumb and stupid.
Those things die hard, Rich.
Is that what it is? Is that a culture thing, like old school coaches?
Hard.
I just want someone who lives, breathes, and eats it.
I think it's dying in a sense.
It's got to.
Because things come on. But you and I are of the same ilk. Remember the book Ball 4?
Of course.
Right? So Jim Bouton. Do you remember there was one passage in there, because Jim was known as a super thinker, and that made people a little, leery around him. And apparently he was on the mound warming up one time, and in the dugout, one of the coaches said, "Look, Brains is out there warming up," and everybody cracked up. I don't know if you remember that passage. Those types of things go through. Remember Pat McInally came out of Harvard?
Sure. He got a 50 on a Wonderlic.
And got a 50 on the Wonderlic. You don't think that set off alarm bells across it? Like, what, Mr. Harvard? And then the kid ended up, I call him the kid.
Right.
And Pat had a very nice pro career. Actually broke his leg in one of those last college all-star games when they played the defending Super Bowl champs, broke his leg in that game, then came back and had a nice career as a wide receiver and a punter. So I'm with you on it. I wish the whole thing would die. The bottom line is there's a lot of guys that don't blow away the Wonderlick that don't love football. So why are we looking at it in reverse? Like if you blow it away, you're automatically suspect that you might not love football.
Charles Davis here on the Rich Eisen Show. A great article in the MMQB. I don't know if you read this on Dalvin Cook.
It was outstanding by Robert Klemko. He's very good.
I read it today, and how a kid who when I saw him torch Michigan in the Orange Bowl, I'm like, that's a top of the first round of the draft guy right there. And now we're hearing he may not even go in the first round of the draft because of red flags around him. He's from a hard scrabble part of Miami, Florida, and has gotten his way out of there. We all know he had some moments at Florida State, including being accused of punching a female student, correct? And was
acquitted of that.
Wasn't he the guy that Florida State? Remember, guys? There
was a quarterback.
But you remember the Florida State took two team photos.
Yep.
One with Dalvin Cook and one without, depending on whether he'd be able to play and what happened, and then nothing happened, and then he was able to play. What do we make of Dalvin Cook here? Do you have an issue with drafting him if your job was on the line to draft Dalvin Cook?
I know the way that these teams do their homework. Each team has a different threshold of what and a lot of it's based on your owner and your, obviously your upper management. But based on what I read in that article, all I'm getting is he did some stuff that he wishes he hadn't done when he was in high school. He did some stuff he definitely wishes he hadn't done when he was in college. But you're talking about people in recent years that are just speaking up for this kid and saying he's a worker, he's this, he's that. And then remember, he also had in that article the one runner who didn't get him as an agent is putting all the assassination stuff out there about him that just flat out isn't true. I've seen a kid play hard every snap. I've seen a kid make plays for them. And if I'm going to go into those schools, and I'd have to do it myself, but I'm going to go into those places and I'm going to get good feedback back and then around him, I'm not sure I'd have a whole lot of trouble drafting Dalvin Cook.
Jimbo Fisher's on our show tomorrow as well on Thursday, and he's obviously one of the guys who pounds the table for Dalvin Cook. Who's the one guy that you would go into this draft and say, I got to get him, that we got to get him? He may not be a first rounder, may not be a second rounder, that if you're, I know, again, I know this is apples and oranges. Mm-hmm. If I've got a fantasy team, I know I'm going to a draft. I got to get this guy. I don't care where it is. Who's that guy that you're hearing being talked about if he's not your own, Charles?
Well, it's going to be one of the controversial guys. It's going to be Joe Mixon. Because if you're talking about,
get him,
you're talking about a fantasy, you talk about fantasy team.
No, I'm just telling you about that. That's the way I look at it when I'm drafting fantasy, and I know that this is drafting reality.
But you're talking about a guy that you have to have on your team
that I want to have. That he's so talented and he's going to work out.
And he's going to work out, and he's that talented. Oh boy, I think by now for me it's McCaffrey. I mean, I'm just crazy about that kid. I think the work ethic, I know people lose their mind about the bowl game, but we're in a different reality now. The work ethic is off the charts from everything I've ever heard. And he's going to play with the biggest boulder on his shoulder because he still thinks everyone's going to doubt. He could go number one in the draft and have a reason to think that everyone's doubting him. I think that he is a terrific football. I think he's the most complete back in this draft.
Why is the Sun Bowl not being held against him, but all of a sudden Jabril Peppers is getting crushed
for getting hurt in warm-ups?
Which is what happened.
Which is legitimately what happened.
But people are questioning whether he did or not.
That makes no sense.
But let's say he didn't. Let's say he didn't get hurt in warm-ups. Let's say he sat out. He just decided last minute to sit out. What's the difference? The fact that McCaffrey was straight up about it and told his teammates well in advance. Like, why is Jabril Peppers getting crushed for something that McCaffrey's not?
The only way I could get it, that it would make any sense in my mind, is that he committed to playing in the game and then pulled up in warm-ups if it was not real. Okay, and you went that far and then you pulled back on that. That's where you would get clobbered for it, as opposed to, as you said, being straight up and then kind of working your way through it and everyone kind of can adjust to it, not minutes before kickoff. But that's not what happened. The kid, look, our own colleague was there. Daniel Jeremiah was right there and has tweeted out and said, I was there and watched the kid go through warm-ups. That was a legit injury. He pulled up at that time. If he wanted to fake it was the best acting job ever. And why dress? Which makes perfect sense to me.
Could you imagine?
Why would he even do that?
That's part
he got hurt.
That's part of this draft process that makes me crazy.
Makes you crazy.
Is that if Peppers did what everybody believes the case,
right?
All right, that he did get hurt, tried real hard to play in a game that he didn't really have to anyway, and suited up and tried, and now he's getting torched because people think that he went the other way. It's just truly horrible. And with this thing about his diluted sample coming out this week.
You talk about a double whammy.
All right, that makes me think that there's somebody late in this first round that is putting that out there, hoping that he lasts.
It is the wildest thing. I was on a plane with a defense coordinator currently in the league, and I asked him about Peppers. I said, I just want to put it to rest first, and what is he going to do in the pros? And he said, he's not a linebacker. I play him, and he said, and I hate to say it because everybody immediately extrapolates. He said, but I play him like Pittsburgh played Polamalu. I'm not saying he's Polamalu, but I play him like that. Down and distance guy. Certain situations, you put him in different places, put him in a spot to make a play on the football.
That's the Honda Insider Report here with Charles Davis. Can you stick around?
I can stick around.
Okay, because we want to hit some NBA, and then there's an old Gen Stats that's coming up. And then 844-204, Rich, number to dial if you want to call us. We'll take your phone calls here in our last half hour. We're back in 60 seconds with an old Gen Stats that, again, they keep getting better. Guys, you know what I'm going to do on this one? You don't know what I'm going to do on this one?
I have no idea what you're doing.
All right, so you have no choice but to stay tuned. In 60 seconds, we're back here in Philadelphia. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show here in Philadelphia. Charles Davis has to run. Good to see you, Charles Davis, as he takes off. I will see you later today at work, sir. Take care. There's Charles Davis, everybody. And our poll question, hit us up right now with what we're on with our poll question now that we're midway through hour number 3 of our show.
Yeah, we're looking at which NBA playoff team trailing 3-2, so that's the Bucks, Clippers, Grizzlies, has the best chance to come back and win that series.
I think it's got to be Grizzlies, right? I mean, they're home. Bucks are also home, I understand.
Grizzlies 14%. Not a lot of faith in Memphis. Clippers,
the Spurs.
Clippers 30%. That seemed to be Frank Isola's pick. Bucks best chance according to our audience 55%.
Obviously I love the Greek Freak, but I don't know, man. The Grizzlies at home forcing a Game 7. I'd be concerned if I'm the Spurs. They've got themselves a major task on their hands, and compare it to the 2 seed in the East that's sitting back, kicking back, waiting for the Bucks to finish up, and the Bucks don't even play tonight.
I actually think all of these series,
I
think all 3 of these are going to go 7 games, to be honest.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Well, then the Cavs can truly rest, and so can the Warriors, too. There's no doubt about that. Let's get to our old Gen Stats based on another cycle that went down in Major League Baseball yesterday.
Here's a swing and a high drive to right field, sending Blackmon back on the run to the warning track, and this one is off the top of the wall and gone. Blackmon tried to decoy the base runner Eaton to think he was going to catch it, but instead it hits the top of the fence, the 14-foot wall there, and bounds into the stands. Trea Turner has an opposite field home run, his first of the season here in 2017.
There you go. Trea Turner had a 4-for-6 night in the Washington Nationals 15-12 win.
Wow.
Over Colorado. Good old-fashioned Coors Field affair, and that brings us to Old Gen Stats.
Old Gen Stats.
Trea Turner was the first player with 4 hits, 4 runs, and 7 runs batted in who did not have a multi-home run game. Just the one single home run. Since Phil Weintraub had it for the Giants back in April 30th, 1944, and yet, that's not the Old Gen Stat.
Oh, wow, you fooled me.
Trea Turner, who's 23 years and 299 days old, only one player younger than Turner ever had 7 runs batted in while hitting for the cycle. That would be Joe DiMaggio.
Oh, that's why
against the Washington Senators, who was 22 years and 226 days old on July 9th, 1937. That's your Old Gen Stat.
Old Gen Stats.
Yes. And
That's a really good one.
Joe D.
That is really good.
Joe D. And Detroit beat Seattle 19-9 yesterday. On the same day that Washington won 15-12.
Missed a pair of extra points.
I don't know who comes up with this or why.
Okay.
But it is the first day in Major League Baseball history in which one game ended 19-9 and another game ended 15-12. There has never been a day in Major League Baseball history with those two results on the same day.
Like, what poor intern or production assistant is, combing through the list of historic baseball results to come up with that it's the first time ever.
And then it's another good one. You ready for this one? Just to prove to you that when you're maybe at your lowest point or down and out, that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Of course.
That there's always on baseball that next day, that next at-bat, that next start. In golf, there's always that next tee shot, that next putt, that next hole. And try and bring that to your daily life.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Every day. In that regard, congratulations to Dominic Mazza, who threw the first perfect game in South Atlantic League Single-A history for the Augusta Green Jackets. Do you know who he is?
Is he the guy who gave up Tim Tebow's home run?
He is the guy who gave up Tim Tebow's first career home run just weeks ago.
Yeah. Pick number 666.
And now he decides in the same season to just turn the page, not take that in any other way other than just another home run being hit. You're a kid in Single A for the Augusta Green Jackets. Great name, by the way.
Yeah, Augusta Green Jackets.
Okay, you're the South Atlantic League. You're just trying to put starts together, trying to put strikes in succession, and suddenly you get your 15 minutes of fame because the one guy who homers off you is named Tim Tebow. He comes later on and throws a perfect game. Same guy. You go, Dominic Mazza.
That's
you
pretty
go.
great, too.
Congratulations to you.
Affiliated with the San Francisco Giants. Maybe they call him up because of
Mad Bum is out.
Yeah.
No, I think let's just try a little bit more seasoning.
Okay.
Augusta Green Jackets. Isn't that great? That's fantastic.
It's the most perfect minor league baseball team, Dave.
And also the Area 51s.
Area 51s is
right?
great.
That's a good one too.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.